Global warming occurred in the late 1800s, and polar bears are dying because of the overheat. Wildfires spread in Australia from December 2019 to February of 2020, and koala bears are one step below endangered. Brazil. The wildfire in the Amazon forest in August 15 to August 22, 2020 killed nearly 2.3 million animals.
This is caused by climate change.
But what is climate change?
Climate change is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and global climates. These changes have a broad range of observed effects that are synonymous with the term.
As we all know, that industry is one of the most common things that make air pollution. It produces smoke and gases which causes climate change. The other main reasons that cause pollution are electricity and transportation. As you can see on the screen, the pie chart shows that transportations have 14%, electricity have 25%, industry have 21%, and others go to other energies. It all related to each other. The main impact that creates climate change and air pollution are industries. It links to a global warming which happens when there is an increase in greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. Let's talk about the greenhouse gases. Some gases in the earth like CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases, which act like the glass in the greenhouse, trapping sun heat and stop it leaking back to space. And basically, we are increasing the concentration of these type of gases through the factory process like burning fossil fuel and cutting rainforests. The example has been shown to you guys in the very beginning of the videos, like the ice melting in Antarctica, wildfire in Australia, and in Brazil. That is all caused by global warming. The movement for climate change doesn't really occur by the cause of the industry and not really by the adults, but mostly are young people, like mostly students.
What impact does it have on animals? Animals are suffering from climate change since climate change created intense drought, storms, heat wave, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, and warming ocean, which can directly harm animals and destroy the places they live in. Example of animals that are impacted by climate change. Polar bears. In 2008, polar bears were listed as animals that are under endangered species. Because of the loss of sea ice due to the rising of temperature, it made polar bear difficult to hunt seals, because polar bear need sea ice to hunt them. Without them, polar bear would lose their main source of food. Green turtles. Green turtles are sensitive to temperature. Baby turtle sex depend on the temperature of the sand. The warmer it is, it's a female, and the cooler it is, it's a male. But since the temperature is rising, male turtles are decreasing. The population of green turtle will decrease because there's more female turtles than male turtles. Asian elephants. Asian elephants need to drink a lot of water in order to survive in a hotter temperature. Because of climate change, it's harder for them to find enough water they need it every day. Organizations that help find a solution for animals that are impacted from climate change are called World Wildlife. The example solutions are: number 1, World Wildlife is working on helping nature adapt to climate change and prepare them for the impact that's going to happen. Number 2, protecting forests. Because forests are the major home to many wildlife, saving forests can help fix climate change because trees absorb carbon dioxide, which is one of the causes of climate change. And number 3, engaging businesses. World Wildlife work with companies to reduce carbon emission, which helps reduce climate change.
But not only in animals, but it also causes racial issues. Climate change affects all people, no matter where they live, but doesn't mean it impacts everyone equally. The wealthy people can keep themselves and their family comfortable and safe during the warm summer, but the most vulnerable people, especially Black people, couldn't, so they're being hit the hardest. Climate inequities emerge from the same systemic racism, which make people of color tend to live near polluters and breathe polluted air than white Americans. Climate change creates the perfect condition for wildfire, more heat, more drought, drier vegetation. The recent research has shown that Black communities are 50% more vulnerable to wildfires compared to other communities. They are forced to relocate to remote reservations and are particularly at risk. Because of the relocation to remote areas, the Black people experience more air pollution, but not because of the economic class. Race is the number one determining factor for placement of toxic facilities. The pollution doesn't just sicken and kill the people of color, it also contributes to the problem climate change. Black communities have been relocated to neighborhoods that have greater exposure to environmental pollution and toxicity than primarily white neighborhoods, and most of the Black people are poor, which they couldn't afford to rebuild after natural disaster, and people who can't afford wouldn't be able to survive in the next wave. After decades of discriminatory housing policies and inequitable development, Black communities are still disproportionately exposed to pollution and environmental toxins, leading to detrimental health impacts which are often compounded by lack of access to suitable health care.
Lastly, it also causes impacts on children. According to UNICEF, children suffer from malaria, dengue fever, which causes from the spread of insects, pneumonia by breathing in toxic air that is caused by air pollution, diarrhea from the scarcity of clean water. UNICEF has come up with solutions to help children from the impact of climate change. Number 1. Making children the center of climate change strategies and response plans. For example, UNICEF supported the Youth Summit on Water and Climate Change to strengthen youth leadership in climate change adaptation and water resources management. Number 2. Recognizing children as agents of change. UNICEF works with young people to use their voice and talk about climate change through creative platforms and participation at major United Nations. Number 3. Protecting children from the impact of climate change and environmental degradation. UNICEF supports initiatives to make schools, health centers, water and sanitation facilities, and other services critical to children's well-being. Number 4. Reducing emissions and pollution. UNICEF is taking action to cut greenhouse gas emissions to slow and ultimately stop the advance of climate change. The movement of the Youth Young Climate Activists call for urgent action on the climate crisis at UNICEF OHCHR event. Government officials and UN representatives held a conference in Feria de Madrid, Spain on 9th December to call for protection for young children because the climate crisis is a child rights crisis. Currently, the majority of nationally determined contributions set up by member states do not mention children or young people's health that is at risk from climate change at all. Children are the least responsible for climate change, and yet they will bear the greatest burdens of its impact.